Today on the Fitness Business Podcast, we have Aaron Moore. Aaron is the Director of Operations for Urban Adventures Companies, which is the parent company of wellness brands such as Vita Fitness, Aura Spa, and Sweatbox, really just to name a few. Aaron, thank you so much for coming on to the Fitness Business Podcast.
Thank you, Dori. It's awesome to be here. I've been listening to you guys for a long time, and it's pretty surreal to be on with you today. So thank you.
You're so welcome. I read an email where you're like, hey, this was a bucket list item for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've heard about it forever. I've listened to it, both formats and, a lot of industry friends over the years. And I never really viewed myself as someone would be interesting enough to be on the podcast. So I guess we'll find out the hard way today.
Oh, you're so worthy. I seeked you out at the URSA Conference 2022 there in South Beach, Miami, and came back and said to JT, we have to have him on to the podcast for sure.
I appreciate the kind words and thanks for coming to the presentation and supporting URSA.
Oh my God, I wouldn't miss it. Absolutely look forward to it every year. So you've been with the company since 2006?
Correct.
And did I
Day one.
did I see that was kind of just like a startup and then you've kind of built this small empire over the last few years, should we say?
Yeah, so it was really a very simple 22,000 square foot brand, strength, cardio, group fitness classes. And really over the years, one location every 18 months or so, and moving closer and closer towards wellness, recovery, food and beverage, and really trying to be a destination within our communities.
Very nice. Well, again, like I said, I saw you at URSA and you had a great topic when I was there. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think for those that weren't at URSA, or maybe they were and they just didn't get a chance to get into your session, you talked a lot about, effectively recruiting people, interviewing and hiring. And I think we can say even just within our industry and completely outside of our industry, this is a hot topic as it seems to be getting harder and harder to find people and find good people as well.
Yeah, so one of the things that I tell people is I don't believe it's any harder. It's just different and different in a way that is more time consuming. So time consuming isn't necessarily harder. I view harder as, you're having trouble figuring out what to do. So we've stumbled upon a series of things through trying to pivot during the pandemic that seem to have worked really well. And we've been pretty open about sharing that with our industry for the betterment of our industry.
So what I'd like to do is I kind of looked at your presentation that, again, you had at URSA, and I kind of just pulled some pieces out that I thought maybe your answers really might help a lot of our FBP family out there that's listening today, or maybe even next week or in a few weeks. So the first question that I'm dying to ask you this question is, what do you think, do you think company culture is overrated when it comes to retention?
Not at all. I believe the complete opposite. In my role with the company, I was telling our team this the other day, probably 9 out of the 10 conversations I have are surrounding company culture and more specifically communication, collaboration, inclusion, and things like that. So I believe it's the biggest indicator of retention. And I don't believe that people quit companies or quit their jobs. I believe that they quit their teams, or more specifically, quit their managers. We're in an industry that people want to feel good and feel a part of something bigger than themselves. And most people get into the industry to help others. And if they find themselves in an environment where they can't do that, or their input and contributions aren't valued, that's culture, right then and there. And especially in this day and age, there's always more money on the table somewhere else. So people, as a result of culture or a lack of the right culture, will leave for bigger and better opportunities.
Yeah, and that's exactly my next point was going to be, how do you feel with that culture, how important that culture is when the fitness facility, or what, even if, again, we're talking outside of the industry, they're hiring down the street and it's X amount of dollars more.
Yeah, it's a good point. And that's the number one question I always get when people ask me. And more specifically, it's like, hey, our team can go work fast food for $20 an hour, and I'm only paying 10 or 12 or 15 bucks an hour. And I always scratch my head on that and be like, I've worked fast food. I don't want to, for 5, 6, 7 more bucks an hour, I don't want to go do that. And so more specifically, what I tell people is, listen, your team that you hire, particularly part-time hourly employees, has to interact with your brand the way a customer or a member would interact. So our culture is that the primary compensation of our hourly employees is a free membership and the benefits that go along with it. And it lends itself to our price point. I mean, our premium membership tier is a little over $200 a month. So that's a pretty significant spend. And through our efforts over the years, pre-pandemic, we get a lot of organic resume submissions through our website. And the reason people do that is because they want the free gym membership, not the 10, 12, 15, 18 bucks an hour. So that's all culture right there, building something that people want to be a part of beyond just a customer.
Yeah, that free gym membership for some folks is absolutely priceless. And that is how I got into the industry. I was the brand new mom, left my job to be the stay-at-home mom. So obviously our combined income got cut in half. And I didn't want to lose my gym membership, which was definitely on the line of getting chopped. So I decided to teach an aerobics class once a week just so I could have my gym membership. And then I just got sucked in after that. And, here I am, how many years later?
Yeah, perfect example. We have many folks like yourself. You are a target demographic for us in terms of hiring. And I imagine every single person listening to this podcast can think of at least one or two people within their community that would fit that mold. So it's just really trying to change people's perspective. And this isn't a job posting. This is a thought process, and think about your community, your network, your relationships. And there's a lot of people, regardless of your price point, that would probably love to work with you because of your culture.
Yeah, for sure. All right, moving on. You had some non-traditional ideas on where to look for help. I believe you used a term called "go where the people are." Could you explain this?
Yeah, so where the people are not is on the job boards. So do job boards, do job posting. It takes a couple minutes. It's easy to do. You get some response. There's no reason not to do it. But you have to temper your expectations. You can't plan on getting anything from a job board. Anything you do to get, that's just gravy. The primary strategy is the people are not on the job boards, so go to where they are. Where they are is social media, more specifically LinkedIn or Instagram, depending on the position that you're looking for. They're at your competitors, and that may sound a little hands-off and uncomfortable, but I'll guarantee you that your competitors are doing it to you. So that's the way the game is played. You need to be doing what other folks are doing with success to compete for top talent. And then schools as well. So certification programs for personal training, lifeguards, massage therapy, hair salons, so on and so forth. So if there is a professional or technical school that you'd like to leverage, do that as well. One thing specific to our geographic area, the Department of Defense in Washington, D.C. has a program where they specifically place soldiers transitioning from the military world to the civilian structure to where the military is going to fund their first 6 months of employment. So that is a very attractive placement program that is very specific to Washington, D.C., but they have offices throughout the country. So think about that as well. Not only technical and professional schools, but what schools or academic institutions are in your area. What industries are people in that they may not like and looking for a career change? Like yourself, Dori, people re-entering the workforce or partially re-entering the workforce. And then our servicemen and women that are looking to transition out of the government sector into the private sector.
All righty. Now, I will have a question here for you. Professional recruiters, are you in favor, or have you personally had any success with that outlet?
So we've had some very limited success with it. And I would say the biggest thing we've learned is how to do it ourselves. So the biggest problem, in my opinion, with professional and recruiters are, there's a lot of pretenders out there. So it can be challenging to sift through who knows what they're doing versus who's just says they know what they're doing. And two, a good recruiter prefers to hire really just for C-suite and above. And the 99% of the positions we're hiring in our industry are below C-suite. So that doesn't really help. But what I've learned through working with recruiters for C-suite hiring is not only how to do it, but what to do, and perhaps more importantly, just the importance of having it. So we brought it in-house. It is now a function of our human resources department, to where we have human resources professionals, and we have the hiring needs and the financial resources to have a full-time internal recruiter that understands our business and the industries within that we operate, so to speak. So not everybody is going to have the need, due to volume or financial limitations, to have an in-house recruiter. So how can you do that on a part-time basis for a really driven, talented individual looking for a few extra hours a week? Is there a local college or university with somebody in a graduate program from human resources that is looking for academic credit that can help you build a program? So there's lots of ways to do this for minimal or no financial spend to get a talented and capable individual building out a program for your organization.
So let's talk money. Everybody loves to talk about money. And I'm talking about money in the sense of when I was in the club, this used to absolutely just blow my mind when you talk about referral commission and bounty hunting, right? As a group fitness director, I used to find my best instructors were always in the front row of taking my class, right? And I used to get so amazed by the other staff members in the club when we asked them about, like, hey, who do you think maybe member wise would maybe be a good fit to come on board? And they were always kind of like, oh, I never thought of that. So I'd love to hear what you have to say about bounty hunting and referral commission.
Yeah, so there's always a question on, hey, do referral commissions work? And to define the term, it's paying your current staff or employees money to refer friends or people in your network that you would then hire and pay them a commission for the referral once you hire them. So yes, they work, but like anything else, it's how you do it that matters. So a one and done communication or an email to the company like, hey, we have a referral program and it's X dollars, per head. Let us know if you have anybody. So what the result that yields is, for the folks that actually read it and immediately have somebody in mind, you get a few people, and then after a week, it's like you never sent anything out. It's too far out of sight, out of mind. So we came up with this concept of a weekly bounty. So every week or every month or whatever interval you think is appropriate, say, hey, these are the openings that we have available, and here is a variable commission for those positions. So the positions with greater need or harder to find, they would have an increased referral commission. And it's not designed to incentivize people to hunt the dollars, so to speak, but we've found it's had an impact of really stressing the importance of that position to the company. So somebody says, oh, the highest bounty, if you will, is for a massage therapist. Like, the company really needs this. What can I do? Because I've seen this for the past couple of weeks consistently to really help us find somebody in that regard. So like anything else, the importance of it is the frequency and the consistency of the communication, and the variable bounties change the information. So it's relatively fresh content week in and week out. So referral commissions can work, but the way you do it yields the result.
I like how you put that, because you're right. Well, we've all heard, oh, hire within. And listen, I've been a part of that, hire within, but you're right. You do put the referral out there, and like a week later, it's like you never even put it out there, or they never read the email. Like I said, I used to get baffled by the fact that I'd say to the personal trainers, like, isn't there anybody you train that you think would want a front desk job? And they just were kind of like, oh, I don't know, never thought of that. And I'm like, oh. So
it's interesting. We study how we market to consumers. I think it says, like, the average person needs to see something 13 times before they act. So yeah, we can trust that our employees should have a lower number than 13, but it's not one, and it's not a bulk email.
Yeah. All right, Aaron, I need to pause for a second again. Now I got low battery, and I do not want to lose you on my computer shutting down. So I need to step out for another second just to grab my charger. All right, and then we'll pick right back up. Normally I am running in to do my interviews because I have another job,
Yep.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got 3 minutes and I got to get started. And I somehow am way more prepared than today when I've been home for 2 hours before before my interview. And I'm like, okay, do I have everything? And I'm like, yeah. And then I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh, I don't have my questions. Oh, I don't have my battery charger. So yeah, sorry about that.
We need the pressure cooker.
I think so. I do work really well under pressure. My
Good.
husband says, that's just because you're used to that. And I'm like, I guess so. So, all right, let's pick this back up. I want to talk about career page. So that's where I'm gonna bring this up. So Aaron, another one of your really great ideas that I liked, you talked about building out a career page. What does that look like?
So it really has two components. First and foremost, we post our company culture, which has three elements: our purpose, our core values, and our service and experience standards. So we invite everybody to review that to make sure that conceptually the way we operate is right for the individual. And then it's a simple lead capture form with resume upload and a drop down for every position in the company. We believe in constantly recruiting, hiring, building the pipeline for all positions, because we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know when we're going to need every position. So we're constantly recruiting for every position all the time. And through our efforts and our consistency of our efforts over the years, pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, there's really been no change. 3-4 organic resume submissions for a variety of positions every day that we get just through our website. So it's got some real inertia behind it. And just because somebody applies for front desk, for example, doesn't mean that you can't contact them about a sales position or a housekeeping position or what have you.
So I like the fact that you talked about building out the pipeline. So I thought that's interesting that you're not just posting on what jobs you need immediately or positions that are open. You have every single position always posted on your career page.
Right. So internally, yeah, we have that weekly bounty system where we can say like, hey, we really need this position now, but externally, we need everything. And so the approach to that is, think of it like customer acquisition. Like, we're always looking for new customers, new sources of revenue, things like that. In order to accomplish that as a people-facing business and a people-facing industry, our greatest asset is our team and as our people. So we need to make sure we have a good lead pipeline for that as well. So part of our weekly routine is recruiting, interviewing, screening, resume collection for every position. And then it's a rather unsophisticated process. We just have a Dropbox folder that everybody in the company can access. And there is a subfolder for every position within the company. So once we have screened somebody and verified their resume, we just drop it in the folder for everybody to access when they need it. So whether you're using an Excel spreadsheet, Microsoft Teams, Basecamp, Slack, what have you, any number of free apps and resources available, just what works best for your organization to track it, what has good sharing of information, and then just train the team on the expectations. And you can build a really significant pipeline really quickly. And then we just did our annual career fair last week, where we just blasted it out to the community. Every department was represented. Come on in, meet every department, figure out what position or positions might be best for you. And we're hiring people on the spot to start the next day.
Interesting. I get asked this question all the time. And if you can take maybe about 30 seconds, is what does your interview process look like?
So we have an umbrella interview process that changes a little bit based on position, but 5 steps. Step 1, we invite people to review our company culture. That's first and foremost. Step 2, we'll do a 10 to 15 minute phone interview with the candidate. And that's really just to assess your acumen over the phone. Can you carry a quality conversation? And do you show up for your interview prepared and on time and know the company that you're interviewing for? So that's just efficiency, saves a lot of time. Step 3 is the traditional one-on-one interview with the hiring manager. Step 4 is a panel interview with the team or the department. For a group fitness instructor or massage therapist, that panel interview could be an audition, for example. And then the fifth and final step is reference checks, just for anything that we may have missed, but more importantly, to understand what we need to do to position the person for success based on individual or individuals that have worked with the individual in a professional setting previously.
Okay, I like the fact that you do the panel. A lot of people ask about that all the time. It's one of the biggest questions I get asked, like, hey, what are your guests? Do they ever talk about their interview process? I think there's a lot of people out there trying to really hone in on that and fine tune their interviewing process.
Yeah, so a negative or potentially negative piece of feedback that we get is we definitely miss out on candidates because our interview process is lengthy. And they're like, I got another couple of job offers, like I got to move, like you guys seem great, but no, thank you. And we view that as a cost of doing business. The trade-off is we very rarely miss on a hire. And it's part of our culture as well. So there is no way that we would hire a manager, for example, without getting input from the team that's going to be reporting to that manager. Nobody wants to meet their manager on their first day of work, so to speak. So inclusiveness and gathering the input of the effective stakeholders is very important, not only to our interview and hiring process, but our larger company culture.
So I have one last question for you, Aaron, and kind of goes along with hiring. Let's talk about benefit packages. And what advice would you give our FBP family about, benefit packages in the sense of getting people to join the staff and then also for retention?
So two things, two strategies. One, survey your current employees to see what's important to them, because very few companies can do everything. And number two, build out your benefits package and your compensation package in a way that provides items to people who don't yet know what's good for them. And I'll give you an example of that. So, and it still shocks me to this day, one of the lowest rated survey items when we do this compensation survey or benefits survey is 401k with a match. And like, to me, I would never accept a job or go to a company that didn't have a 401k with a match. So like, what am I going to do for my retirement? Like, I got 2 kids and 2 dogs and like a wife who wants to retire someday. So like, if you're not doing that, you're not competitive for me. But most people, like, the dollar is king, and salary or hourly pay, commission, like that's always number one, and that's important. But even if it doesn't survey well, you need to protect your team on the traditional benefits package, health, dental, vision, insurance, as well as 401k for a match. So you have to be sophisticated enough and have done enough research that even if something doesn't survey well, you know what's good for people. And more importantly, if it surveys low, you've got an education gap. So for us, the last time 401k with a match surveyed really low, we went back to the team and say, hey, let us educate you on what this means. It reduces these are pre-tax dollars, so it reduces your taxable income. You put it into investments, which over time is more likely to grow than not grow. And these are relatively low risk mutual funds. This is how you save for a home. This is how you plan for a family. This is how you retire someday, and things like that. And especially with people under 35, it's like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. This thing is great. And so it's like, okay, we need to do a better job of onboarding those employees. So the things that should survey well, do survey well. So surveying is not really a matter of offer it or don't offer it, but where do we need to educate people on proper forms of compensation?
All right. Well, Aaron, thank you so much for coming on today. You're just a plethora of information on hiring, and hopefully our FBP family out there got a couple good tips. Like I said, when I saw you at URSA, I was jotting them down left and right. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come on the Fitness Business Podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Dori. I really enjoyed chatting with you, and hopefully folks got some value out of it.
Definitely. Now, listen, you said this was one of your bucket list items. You now get to officially cross it off. So you have to add something else to your bucket list item. Okay, on to the next thing in the industry. All right, have a fantastic day. Thank you so much, Aaron Moore.
Thank you, Dori. Pleasure.